All right, so this one here is the biceps femoris, right? That's main big muscle in the goats. It's going to be your gluteal biceps. And then here we have the tensor fascia latae and the tensor fascia latae muscle. So the tensor fascia latae covers the quadriceps femoris. And on the cross section of the quadriceps femoris, this kind of circular part that's cranial is the rectus femoris. This section that is lateral is the vastus lateralis. The section that's, I guess, caudal up against the femur is the vastus intermedius, and the most medial section down in there is the vastus medialis. And then you have your middle gluteal muscle, and then deep in there is the deep gluteal muscle. This one here, this kind of triangle, is the superficial gluteal muscle because it kind of covers the middle gluteal. Back here we have the caudal crural abductor, and it's only in carnivores, so not in the goats. Semitendinosus is first, then our semimembranosus. And then here on the inner thigh is the gracilis, this big flat round muscle. You might want to switch. Alright, so gracilis is here. Then underneath the gracilis down in here is the adductor muscle. And then this little muscle right here is the pectineus. And then this muscle here with the two heads, kind of like two long straps, is the sartorius. So the two heads, Sarah and Tori. All right, here we have the cranial tibial. Then we have the long digital extensor. See, I was just stalling for me. Long fibular is this little one. Then we have the deep digital flexor, and then the superficial digital flexor, and that's from a caudal aspect or caudal view. So it's superficial is what you see first from caudal, and then deep. And then here, this big bulb-like one on the back is the gastrocnemius, which connects down to the calcanean or calcaneus by the common calcanean tendon. And then all right, this big fan-shaped muscle is the, what is it?
Latissimus dorsi.
Latissimus dorsi. Thank you. Brain fart. It's like the easiest muscle. Latissimus dorsi. So deep to the latissimus dorsi, right here coming down is the serratus ventralis. It kind of has this serrated edge, and what comes up to meet it is the external abdominal obliques. So we'll go and do, so underneath the external abdominal obliques are the internal abdominal obliques, and then the deepest layer where the striations run up and down is the transverse abdominis. And then this external abdominal muscle down here, like on the ventral, the most ventral part of the dog, is the rectus abdominis.
And then what's the line?
Oh yeah. So the line of connective tissue, yeah, is the linea alba. So that's where all the abdominal muscles come in, and there's just a band of thick connective tissue there. And that's where they'll cut for like spays or like intestinal surgery or something like that, because it's a lot easier to heal connective tissue than it is to heal muscle back together. Alright, so let's do this. Right here, this kind of triangle, and it would come up and attach here, but it's cut, is the superficial pectoral muscle, and then underneath it and kind of up to here is the deep pectoral muscle. Underneath, so this is our scapula here, so underneath is the subscapularis. It's on the subscapular fossa of the scapula. Alright, let's do this triangle here is the trapezius. Deep to the trapezius, we have the rhomboideus. And then on the scapula, here is the suprascapularis. So that's on the suprascapular fossa because the spine is right here. Then Then you have the omotransversalis. And the brachiocephalicus is this big, long one that comes all the way down. The deltoideus is this kind of almond-shaped one. This here is also a head of the deltoideus. Deep to the deltoideus, you have your infraspinatus. So remember, our spine is right here, so this muscle is on the infraspinous fossa of the scapula. This little round muscle down in here is teres minor. Right there, it's kind of round. And this long, like hot dog shaped muscle here is teres major. So teres major and teres minor make an explanation point. This here is the triceps brachii, and so you have the long head of the triceps is here, and the striations run lengthwise down. Then you have the lateral head of the triceps, which is this most lateral section. The striations kind of go across. And then it's LAM, the acronym LAM. So L, long, L, lateral. Then we have our accessory head of the triceps. And then deep to that, the deepest, is the medial head of the triceps. So right in there. So the goats, the accessory and the medial head are so tightly woven together that you can't really distinguish them. So this muscle kind of here in the crick of the elbow is your brachialis. And then this muscle right here that kind of bulges like your biceps on you is the biceps brachii. So that's the bulgy muscle. All right. So in our leg, our extensors are going to be on the cranial aspect because they flick the paw forward, right? And our flexors that curl the paw back are going to be on this more caudal aspect. So we have extensor carpi radialis, it's most cranial. We have our common digital extensor. We have our lateral digital extensor, it's our most lateral. We have the lateral ulnar, or the extensor carpi ulnaris, so it comes up to the olecranon process of the ulna. Then we have flexor carpi ulnaris, so that's our first flexor, and it's right underneath the olecranon process, or the elbow. Then this big flat one is our superficial digital flexor, and then underneath it, right here, is the deep digital flexor. And then we have, if I can get to it. Sorry.
Flexor carpi radialis.
Okay, yeah, flexor carpi radialis. And then, so here's where our biceps brachii comes down. And so on this medial side of where that comes down and inserts is the pronator teres. And so on the lateral side of where it comes down, inserts right, so right here is the supinator. Hind limb. So again, the most cranial is the cranial tibial, and in the goats it's the third fibular, or the third fibular is first in the goats. Then you have your, what was it, long digital extensor, again extensor. Then we have the long fibular, because it's this little one like the fibula. And then here, wait, did I already do these? I already did these, damn it.
Keep going, it's okay to have it under.
Deep digital flexor, superficial digital flexor, gastrocnemius.